Welcome back to the Vera House podcast. Today, we get into some...
Yes.
But more about that later. We talked about a bunch of fun stuff today. We talked about how Richmond is extending free GRTC bus rides for another year. So if you're in need of transit this summer, you can hop on the bus for free, which is pretty cool. There's a project down on Dock Street Park in Shockoe Bottom, Rockets Landing area to extend and revitalize this essentially unused patch of land and turn it into a public park. And I think that's great. We could always use more public spaces. And to that end, we talk about connection, and what sparked that thought was, why don't we say hi to each other in the street in passing? Most people just kind of walk by you and look at the ground, and I think it's kind of weird. So let's start talking to each other. But in the meantime, what else we get into?
Yeah. And it's sad that that is the case, right? So during the episode, we do invite you to join us at the upcoming Carytown Run Club. It's brand new. It's low pressure. Come join us May 30th at 9 a.m. You'll get all the details to that in the description. During this episode, we talk about what to do because the blazing hot summer is coming up. So we talk about ways to stay cool for Richmonders. There's a lot of different options that you probably didn't know about, that we didn't know about. We also talk about a pretty wild, what I'm calling a holy shit moment. This happened in Chesapeake in Virginia. And you just got to see it to see what we're talking about. It's just insane. And then we talked about Richmond's most infamous grifting scam artist frat boy.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a bit of a pink unicorn. He's a legend. He's Florida man. We don't know. And you may have heard about him if you've lived in Richmond for some time. It may be a name that's familiar. Tune in, enjoy the episode. Odie McBigDog, got your license.
Yeah. I got my...
You're like, I'm the captain now.
I'm your captain now. Certified boat operator, or whatever the title is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's captain, I think.
I think it is captain, or just a licensed boater. They use weird terminology in that booklet. But I went ahead. I got my boating license because we talked about wanting to go out to the lily pad, get a little boat, get a crew together, go on a little cruise. And I haven't done it in a few years. And the last time I did, somebody else was driving, and I want to drive.
Yeah.
So I got my license.
Well, and especially with your luck on the streets, it's like, just take it on the water where there's no red light cameras.
Seriously, there's no cops, there's no speed bumps, there's no red lights to roll through.
There's no jaywalkers.
There's no jaywalkers. Yeah. Free and clear. There's even like a little cove out there that you can pull into and like park, and it's super shallow. So you can have like a boat party out there.
Yeah.
It's nice.
I've been out there before, like in the little, what do they call it? Like the gravel pits or something. Yeah. I've been out there. It is a good time.
It's cool.
It's been a little while, but yeah, that'd be awesome. And I think, so what's the deal? Can you pilot any size boat? Like, can you now captain a yacht?
I don't think it's yachting.
Okay.
Quite certified, at least to my knowledge. I think it's for small to medium-sized boats, motorized or powered boats, inboard, outboard, and maybe some sailing ships that have motors.
Mm.
I didn't read the fine print, to be honest.
I'm sure there's some limitation at some point, right?
There definitely is. But for something like the lily pad or, Lake Anna, where you can just drive out there and like reserve a boat for the whole day. You can have it for like 8 hours.
Yeah.
You just need a boating license for that. And it's an online course. It's $50. Takes a few hours. Wasn't that hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then we're good to go.
Boats, man. Boats are cool. My dad, growing up, like we went fishing and deep sea fishing all the time. And he's pretty much just always had a boat of some sort, even if it was just like a little bass fishing boat. And then at one point he had a bay liner. And so, yeah, going on a boat is like always a good time, man. You mentioned Lake Anna. I've also been out to Lake Anna. My family went there, not super frequently, but we had a string of summers where we'd go out to Lake Anna. But the water there is really hot.
Yeah.
It's like the outlet for the nuclear power plant.
It is. I don't mind that because call it cold natured or what have you. I like it a little on the warm side.
Yeah.
Now, when it's like super, super hot, it's the most annoying things
Right.
to get out of a hot car, walk in the hot sun, and then get into like the hot lake or
Right.
the hot river or whatever. That sucks.
Yeah.
It's just like getting into a bathtub.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
And there's also like a big misconception about Lake Anna with like the nuclear thing too. People just, we have such a negative association with nuclear because of what we learn in school about Chernobyl and like, nukes and the atomic bomb and all that stuff. But nuclear power is entirely different. And it's not like there's nuclear waste going into the water. That's not how it works.
They wouldn't let people swim now. I say that.
I mean, you never know.
You never know. I'm confident that they wouldn't just let people swim in the lake if it was like there wouldn't be like fish or like turtles or birds or anything like that are out there.
Right.
If it was riddled with nuclear waste.
Yeah.
So
I'm not a nuclear engineer, but essentially like the way it works, and I know this because my ex was a nuclear engineer, but water is the cooling method for like the rods that create nuclear fission. And so like, of course, those get like insanely hot. And then the way they cool them down are basically like stop the nuclear process. So they just put them underwater and it just stops the process. But then of course the water gets really hot and then they release that water. So it's literally just hot water.
Yep.
That's it. Not always the most fun to swim in.
No, not so I don't plan on swimming too much when I'm on this boat journey of ours.
Yeah.
I'll get in, do we'll drop anchor, get a little swim in. Get a little dip in. That's kind of what I like to do. Just a little dip, just cool off, especially on a hot day, right?
Yeah.
It's probably going to be Virginia hot, so call it 90 or 85 with a heat index of 102.
Right.
Whatever the heat index means. It'll be like 85% humidity with no clouds in the skies. So no shade or cover from the sun. So we're going to need a dip.
Mm-hmm.
Take a little dip. Then I'm going to sit on the boat and just chill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They call that cooked.
Yes. I'm okay with being a little cooked.
Yeah.
I got the natural sunblock. So I'm okay most of the time.
You got that extra melanin.
I do.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's it's what did we call it last year? Hot boy summer?
Hot boy summer?
I don't know why we said that, but I guess it's back. It's made a return.
I don't even know if we can call it that now, man. It's not like that was fun. Hot boy summer was fun.
Yeah. I had a mullet.
Yeah. That's wild.
Yeah.
I looked at some of the previous episodes and it wasn't even just a mullet. It was like you had long hair that you like sometimes cut on the side.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much, dude. Well, like the tricky thing is my hair is actually straight. And I feel like a mullet is cool when it's like wavy and wild,
Yeah.
And it takes growing a mullet to learn that you ain't got that mullet in you,
I mean, I can't say that that's how I learned that I don't have that mullet in me, but I can understand that.
Yeah, I think like I've got the right attitude for a mullet, but I don't have like the right endurance for a mullet.
You understand? Endurance. I'm thinking about how people would say you don't have the frame. Like, you don't have the frame for a mullet. Like you don't got the shoulders or whatever. Yeah. Not saying that that's you, but it's just like that's a funny thing that people would say.
For sure.
It's like certain hairstyles, like you don't got the frame for that.
Bro, I just don't have the hair genes for it, because like and I feel like the point of a mullet is like it takes no maintenance because it's a mullet, right? But like because my hair is like pin straight, in order to make my mullet look cool, I had to like put all this texturizer stuff in it. And then I'm like, dude, what's going on? I'm like, I'm shaving this thing off. Man. Yeah. This is crazy.
It's more maintenance than it's worth.
Yeah. I'm like, I can't be maintaining a mullet. Like, what?
It's like, yeah, you are that guy now.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, you can't help but feel like, dang, I'm a poser.
I mean, or unbeknownst to everyone else in the modern world, you are a mullet guy because that's what it takes.
Yeah.
But
then I got to like uphold my image as a mullet guy, you know? And I wasn't willing to commit.
You're at Ulta every other week picking up the hair supplies. The lady behind the counter. She's like, "Oh, what's up, Myke? I got the new goods for you right over here. It'll be $3,000 in hair stuff."
Yeah. So naturally, after just under a year, I called it quits.
Yeah.
And we're back to Old Faithful.
Well, the timing couldn't be better. High and tights, it's that time of year. Because let's see, it's end of this week. Today was, call it 95, 90-ish. Yesterday was 100. My dash always says like 112. The day before that was 91, 92. I think the day before that, it was like in the mid 80s.
Yeah.
It's hot. Richmond summer is here.
It is.
I know we've been bitching about the weather for a while because it was cold, then it was frozen, and then it was nice, like real nice. Now it's hot.
Yeah. And you survived the yellow dust storm.
The yellow dust storm, the pollen storm, the pollening.
Yes, the pollening, yes.
Yeah, I survived the pollening barely. Like it took me out for like 2 days.
Yeah, dude.
It was crazy.
Well, I survived last summer with no air conditioning.
Blows my mind. I remember when you told me it was near the end of summer.
Yeah.
When I found out.
Yeah.
And you didn't complain, you didn't bitch about it. You were just like, oh yeah, my AC's been broke since like a year ago. And I just tough it out. I'm rocking out 100 and some degree in my house like I'm living in the Congo.
Yep. Yep.
Like, all right, man.
Yeah, literally it got to like 102 inside my house. And luckily we'll have a fun announcement about that later. So everybody will have to like keep an ear out to hear what we're going to do, because we're going to actually do something funny or interesting regarding my AC.
Yeah.
But that was tough. Like it was, like you said, tough it out was exactly what I did. Like, luckily I don't have, pets and kids and stuff. So I was like, it's just me. Like, it's just me and I got to deal with
this
it.
Work.
Yeah. I was like, whatever, dude, I'll just tough it out. And that was my attitude in the beginning of summer. And then sure enough, I hit July, August, and I was like, I think I made a mistake.
Yeah. Bro, you're a better man than me in that regard. I'm a little, call me whatever you want. I can't handle it. I like being very comfortable, and I very much dislike being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And temperature is one of those things I just can't tolerate when it's off. It's like, if it's too cold, I can't function. I can't do anything. If it's too hot, it's nothing. I can't think about anything else.
Yeah.
I have to manage the atmosphere for me to like exist. So for you to live in a house with 100-degree temperatures inside for more than like a few days, like bravo,
Yeah, man. I mean, I survived it. And just within these past few days, it's already hit almost 100 in my house again.
Yeah.
But luckily I have a plan.
Yeah. What's your temporary fix for keeping cool?
I mean, in the meantime, dude, like now that it's going to rain this evening, like I've got the windows open and the doors open and it'll cool off. It's the sleeping part that's hard when it's so hot, God. So I've got like a little floor unit that I roll into my bedroom at the end of the night. And then in the meantime, like, dude, I just put the ceiling fans on high, and I have that one little floor unit that it's kicking. I mean, it's still hot in my house, but what I do is I just deal with it,
Man, again, you're a better man than me. I would have been like staying at a hotel, going to a friend's house, something.
Well, and so in that exact vein, now we have this studio. So it's like, okay, I could have walked here, which I don't think I did last year, but I should have, because the AC here works great.
Yeah.
And I'll take a break and walk to the coffee shop and stuff. Did you know that Richmond has dedicated cooling centers for that exact reason?
I had no clue.
So a lot of them are like the public libraries and stuff, but there's these like cooling options during the hot weather in Richmond. So this goes through Labor Day. The city of Richmond offers walk-up cooling centers in neighborhoods all across the city. And a lot of them include the Richmond Public Library locations, and also like the parks and recreation, outdoor pools, and like Southside Plaza. So the three, there's a bunch of them, but like the three big ones are Southside Plaza, the Community Resource and Training Center on Chamberlain Parkway, and Richmond Public Libraries. So the locations that are doing this for libraries, basically these are like air-conditioned spaces that you're welcome to just visit and spend time in if you need somewhere cool to go. So the main library on Franklin, the Belmont Library, the Broad Rock Library on Warwick, East End Library, Ginter Park Library, Hull Street Library, North Avenue Library, West End Library, and Westover Hills Library. Pretty cool. And then, there are obviously still some public pools throughout the city as well. So like Parks and Rec will do it. And there's Battery Park, Blackwell, Randolph, and Fairmont pools. So all those places are open and free to go for people who aren't as crazy as me, or like have dogs, have pets, have kids, and they're like, all right, we can't be in the house when it's this hot, so that gives them like a place to go. But I wish I would have known that last year.
I mean, now you've got refuge if you need it.
Yeah.
I think, I might have to pop over and hit the library, rent some VHS tapes, rent some videos, rent some books.
Yeah, seriously.
Or just sit there and post up and do some work.
Yep.
Fortunately, the AC in my place is working well. We just got a notice in the mail or an email that said, in an emergency, if we're out of the office or if it's the weekend and your AC goes out, call this number. And I was like, if in an emergency, whoa, is there going to be an emergency?
Right.
Or is there somebody else already dealing with this? Because that's more than likely the case, which is just, it's always, I'm from here. You've been here a long time. It's always still kind of like a shock, not a shock, but an adjustment to the norm when things are, because there's really no transition period. At least there hasn't been this season that's notable enough where it's like, oh, it's been nice for about a week and then gradually it gets a little warmer. It's like 80 degrees outside because it's going to rain. It'll be in the 60s next week. And then the week after that, it'll be back to 100.
Right.
And there is no in between.
Yeah.
It's like one day it's 60 with clouds. The next day it is 98 degrees and like 90% humidity. So there is no getting used to it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of that's kind of how the, Richmond's weather just kind of operates. But yeah, man, as someone who's been here a long time, I'm still not used to it.
Yeah. It's the Virginia thing, right? Speaking of emergencies, I did see where in consecutive days, if it's over 92 degrees Fahrenheit or above, for 2 consecutive hours, so if the temperature is expected to reach 92 degrees Fahrenheit or above for 2 or more consecutive hours during the day, the Salvation Army Extreme Heat and Weather Shelter will open. And this is on Chamberlain. So it's open from 11 to 5. They have water and snacks and all that stuff. So that's like a real dedicated emergency heat center. So like obviously the pools are great, the library is great, but those, they're not really outfitted to be like emergency centers.
Yeah.
But if there is really a situation, and like I said, if I had kids or something, that would be a pretty dire situation where it's like, okay, during the day, go here, right?
Yeah.
So that's also good to know about as well. Now I will say that it does say that pets, except for service animals, are not permitted at those locations. So it's like, if you do have a dog, I don't know, man.
Take them to the pool.
Yeah.
Something. Take them to the river.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good idea too. Yeah.
I know people are kind of 50-50, maybe even, a different split nowadays, but the river is always a free available option. There's numerous ways to get there. There's dozens of places to sit and kind of hang out, refuge from the heat. Summertime, it's like exactly what people in Richmond do is go to the river.
Yeah. Can you bring your dog on the GRTC bus?
I don't know if you can. I want to say,
right?
I think you can take service animals on the GRTC, but GRTC buses are free and they're going to be extending the free bus fare for another 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So the bus is just free in general?
Yeah. That started a couple years ago, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow. It shows that I don't utilize the bus. I think many Richmonders probably say the same, right? It's like we have the GRTC bus. I never even take advantage of it.
Yeah, I don't think I've taken the bus. I don't want to say I've not ever taken the bus because that's crazy.
I used to take it all the time when I was like in my early 20s.
Yeah, I don't even remember doing it in my 20s. I definitely took it when I was a kid though. But the free bus service in and around Richmond will continue for at least one more year after the Greater Richmond Transit Company Board of Directors approved a $1.1 million operating and capital budget for fiscal year 2027. The Greater Richmond Transit Company, known as the GRTC, surpassed 12 million passenger trips in the fiscal year 2026. So that's just up until this point. Fare-free transit continues to make a real difference for families and riders across the region. GRTC CEO Cheryl Adams said, "As our communities continue to grow, we must continue to prioritize accessibility, reliability, and connectivity through public transportation." So yeah, man, if you're in need, and let's say, the worst case scenario is you drive kind of an older car or what have you, and your AC gives out, or your car breaks down because it's too freaking hot outside, or you ride a bike and it's too hot to ride your bike. You can ride your bike to a bus stop, put your bike on the bus, take the GRTC to wherever you need to go, or to the nearest stop to wherever you need to go for free, which is great, man. Like, I know we kind of talked about the bus scenario or the bus situation. We talked about the pulse lanes kind of being like maybe not the best execution of that thought, but we do have public transits. We do have a relatively efficient for what it is, public transportation system. And now it's free.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
That is super cool. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think you could take your dog on the GRTC bus.
I don't think you can.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I was just trying to think like, yeah, how do people take their dogs and head on down to the river or something, you know?
I mean, can you take a dog in an Uber?
I guess it depends on the Uber. I feel like it's the same thing. Like, probably not, right?
Is there an Uber pup?
That's a good question.
It's a good idea.
I mean, it's got to be like in the app, I would imagine,
Yeah.
right? Like, I bet
Uber-
if you were to book an Uber, like there
Uber
must
pup
be.
edition.
Yeah, or like where you could somehow request like a pet friendly, but who knows? Maybe it's like a liability, you know?
Yeah, there's always some sort of red tape bumming out people and keeping them from having fun.
Yeah, somebody's chihuahua bites off a Uber driver's ear.
Yeah, exactly. Like with the term "we can't have nice things" that's the exact reason for that. It's like, yeah, man, we were trying to do something cool for you, but you proved to us that you couldn't handle it.
Yeah, yeah.
Or your dogs couldn't handle it.
What were you were talking about like upgrades at the river? Like something's going on at the river lately?
Yeah, something is going on at the river. We are getting some upgrades to the Dock Street area. Are you familiar with like Dock Street and that whole area?
I sure am, you know,
Yeah.
and I'll tell you a story in a minute.
Yeah, which, I'm anxious to hear this story. But I came across an article that there are going to be some upgrades to Dock Street. So I'm thinking, when I think about Dock Street, it's the area just past like that roundabout at the end of the hill right by Penny Lane Pub.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Right? So there's the little roundabout that takes you to Boathouse and whatever the restaurant that's called, that's right there in the corner.
Island Shrimp Co.
Island Shrimp
Yeah.
Co. And there's like a volleyball court and there's like a sandy little area and places where people like dock and like some people have like cookouts down
Yeah.
there. So it looks like they're going to revitalize that area.
Yeah, I see where this was posted 7 days ago. River access, hammocks, and a lot more plans. Richmond unveils first long-term plan for Dock Street Park. The plan would also regrade a steep slope leading to the river. So Dock Street Park is like, it's nice.
Yeah.
Now it doesn't have like hammocks and stuff like that in it because I've ridden my bike through there a million times.
Okay. So actually, I found the article that
Okay.
we should be looking at, which was posted a couple of days ago.
Nice.
Um,
But they started on it back in like 2023,
They started
2024.
on it in 2024. Or it opened, like what we know of Dock Street Park opened in
Right,
2024.
Right.
And it looks like, just from this picture, that this is the landscaped area. So right here is this facility,
Yeah.
like that kind of newer
It's like a
construction.
nature outlook.
Yeah, and it looks like they've landscaped that area going towards the boathouse, towards the tennis courts.
Yep.
And that's going to be like the new Dock Street Park with hammocks and a lot more plants.
I think that would be awesome because even when they first opened it and riding my bike through there, I had this exact feeling. I'm like, damn, this looks good. Like it looks really nice and it's a way better use of the space. And dude, that nature overlook is really nice. Like that whole building
Really?
right there, it's really nice. It's really cool. But I had this thought of like, man, it feels a bit like desolate. It's like not super inviting.
Yeah,
It's
there's
like,
not a lot going on.
yeah,
down there.
let's say that you were like, oh, I'm going to take my family here for the day and go to the park. Like you'd show up and you'd be like, oh, this is just like an empty field. There's like nothing here.
It's so funny that you use the word desolate.
The park is like in such a cool place, like right there on the riverfront. And it has like the potential to just be like this beautiful park. But all they did was put some gravel down and plant some trees. And
Yeah.
you can even tell from this picture, it's just like an empty park.
Yeah, there's even like a further detailed schematic overhead look of the plans of the park.
Yeah.
And there's another quote from him that said, the goal is not to completely renovate what's already been built, but it's kind of to re-enhance it. Basically like the Belle Isle or the Browns Island Park. They're not going to completely flatten it and redevelop it. They're just going to enhance what's already there and make it more of a community space. You know, in the last episode or a couple episodes back, we were talking about community spaces and kind of the lack of those opportunities for people to meet, people to connect, people to just kind of hang out that aren't somewhere where you have to pay to be. It's not the public library. It's not a shopping center. It's not a coffee shop. It's not a bar. So I'm all on board for these types of spaces.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes me think of almost like not a comparison to like Central Park in New York, but it just makes you think of those types of spaces where it's like it's a green space in a very busy area, which that space is a very busy area there.
Super high traffic.
And like, dude, imagine if they had a little spot where like, food trucks or coffee trucks could pull up. Like that would be awesome.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. Like further down. So if we're looking at the original photo from the nature center going toward like this abandoned building where they have raves.
Right.
By the way, if you're into techno,
there's
raves that go on down there.
Yeah.
There's like a tunnel under the street and they have the raves inside the tunnel.
Oh yeah.
It's awesome. There's this place where you can rent bikes.
Yep.
Yeah. So you can, I don't remember what it's called.
I think it's called Kona. I think that's who does it, is Kona Cycles, I believe.
So you can rent cycles there or bikes there. But yeah, imagine if they were like a rotation of food trucks just kind of lined up in one of these, or like not entire trucks, just like carts where you could get, you get hot food, you can get cold drinks or cold snacks. It's all about this series of projects that we're seeing is all about I feel like the intention is trying to bring the community together in a more realistic way. Instead of trying to connect everybody on digital platforms, it's trying to encourage people to be more active outside and to be social. Because it's one thing to build a trail, and it's one thing to invite people who like to run to a run club, for instance. It's another thing to say, here's a space where you can do whatever you want. So if you don't run and if you don't want to go on a hike, you can just kind of hang out here.
Right.
And we've cleaned it up. We've made it nice and inviting. We've made it really functional and easy to navigate. Maybe there's some signage with a placard of what it used to be or historical facts about the area. It's on the way to somewhere else. So if you were going to the boathouse, you could park at the boathouse and walk down to that park. If you're going to the nature center, you could park at the nature center and just kind of do the tour there and then sit in the park and have lunch or have a meeting or have a group of friends kind of hanging out. And I'm all for this kind of stuff. Like maybe this is like the softer side of me, but I genuinely enjoy like real authentic connection with people.
Yeah.
And when we were talking to that guy at the Innovation Summit, the Big Dipper Summit, and he said that comment about Richmond being cliquish, we were both like, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a problem, I think.
Yeah.
For me specifically, and probably for you, it's not an issue because we've been here long enough. We have an established group of friends, and the 3 degrees of separation is very active, so we meet and know lots of people.
Yeah.
But it's not easy for everybody.
Yeah.
And I would like it to be easier for people. And this actually kind of brings up another thing that I was thinking about just this morning. I actually saw someone wrote about it on Reddit, which is kind of funny timing. I was on a walk this morning, and I live down the street from Stella's, so I usually walk down Lafayette to Monument, cross Monument, and then I walk by Stella's and Stella's Market, and like the shed is there, and it's a nice little hub of retail businesses in that neighborhood. And Malvern Gardens is beautiful. It's a lovely neighborhood. There's beautiful homes. There's always people out kind of walking around and doing things, and it's very neighborhoodly.
Yeah.
So you're more likely to see people and talk to people and just kind of, say hello as you're kind of walking by them. But I walked by, and I was thinking about this as I was on this walk. I walked by this younger guy. I think he'd be either my age or younger than me. And every time I'm walking by someone, I'm having to ask myself, should I say hello?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm usually like, I'll do what I normally do, which is like a nod, maybe a wave, but usually just like something like, a head nod. Because I got my headphones on. We're not stopping to have a conversation.
Yeah.
But I want to acknowledge that person. And it just kind of struck me that, well, first off, he didn't say or do anything. He didn't even look in my direction. We passed by each other. I looked at him and he looked at the ground. And it just kind of struck me then, because previously, in past weeks or days, I'm on the same walk and I'm waving and saying hi to people of an older age, people my parents' age. They are even overly nice when it comes to saying hi and hello and greeting strangers on a walk specifically. It just kind of dawned on me, it's like, this is kind of a thing. People my age and people younger don't do this. And if they do, it's like a rare occurrence. for two people of the same age group, in our age group or younger, to like do that and like have that be a part of how they operate. But if you're older than me, so, 40 plus, that's common practice. It's what you were doing when you were a younger person and you've been doing it your whole life. And it's nice, especially when, when you're a younger person, you walk by like an old guy on a walk. It's like, hey there, how you doing? The whole thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes he might even stop and ask you about what you're doing, chit chat for a little bit. Same thing with, if it's a woman on a run and you guys are running and she stops like, hey, how you doing? Or whatever. But not for people of the younger age group. And it's kind of a bummer.
It is, dude. I mean, people are more disconnected than ever. Like ourselves and the generations below us are more connected digitally than in human history, right? But in person, no one speaks to one another. They don't say hello, and they have that effect where when you make eye contact, instead they feel awkward or weird and they look away and look down. And nobody is open and willing to meet new people or get out of their comfort zone or try new hobbies, new passions, new groups, new community things. And it's frustrating. It's annoying. And then we are becoming like the old man that yells at the clouds, complaining about this type of stuff. But it's true that people have just like given up on real life because living real life on the internet is easier, right? It's like, oh, well, I can pretend to be happy on the internet and everybody can look at my life from the outside and be like, wow, what a great life. But to do it in real life and create meaningful friendships, meaningful relationships, have a good reputation, make a good first impression is hard. But that's why it's worth doing. And I think, a huge part of the younger generations have just given up on that idea, or they were just never aware of that idea to begin with, And could be a good time to tell people that we're doing this Carytown Run Club thing. And just like a quick, literally just a quick invite is we've teamed up with the guys over at Blackbird Goods, which are here in Carytown. And it was, they get credit for this. It was really their idea. We've done some fun running events in the past already with sports backers. And like, I'm a runner and, it's like we're lightly interested in the topic.
I'm getting there.
Perry's getting there.
I'm getting there.
Yep. Perry's a jogger.
Yeah.
I'm a madman, like I'll do whatever. It's like, I'll run till my feet are non-functional, but, we would love for everybody to come and join us. So the very first run club that we're going to do is going to be on May 30th at 9 a.m. And so it's very casual. You don't need to be at any in particular experience level. It's all people of all shapes, sizes, colors, experience levels. Please come and hang out with us. It's just a fun social thing. We're not running insanely fast. It's like we're getting together. We will post all the details on the Carytown Run Club Instagram. So you can find that at Carytown Run Club. So check it out. We'd love to invite you. So if you're somebody who resonates with anything that we've just been saying and you want to push yourself to just come hang out and be social in a very low pressure environment, please come and join us.
Yeah, man. I just think people could do with a bit more connection.
Yeah.
And it's not as hard as you think.
Right.
And it honestly might make your day. We can harp on this as long as I think is necessary, but the guy that posted this on Reddit, he said, I walk around a lot and I usually say hello when I pass someone not wearing earbuds. No agenda other than being friendly and building community. As a man, I try not to bother women by themselves because I don't want to scare them or give them the impression I'm interested. Not everyone responds, which is fine. They don't owe me any response. Sure, they have reasons. Since COVID, the number of responses has plunged, maybe only 10% responding with anything, even a smile or a nod. This troubles me a bit. Have we forgotten how to interact with strangers in person? And there's comments below that kind of go in lots of different directions. Some of them are in agreement with this person saying that, have we lost our ability to connect? Was it COVID that did it? Because it's very likely that, it's not even a question. That definitely had a massive effect on individuals, their ability to connect, their willingness to try and connect, and like society as a whole. But then there's comments about his mention of not talking to women on runs or walks. And I know that that's a thing. And I know that that's, a multifaceted conversation. But again, I think we could do well with taking the steps to like bridge those gaps, because it's going to be a two-way street no matter what, right? If the women that are saying that they don't want to even look at guys in the eyes, like some people are saying, you know, I absolutely do this. I don't look at guys in the eye because I don't want them to give the impression that I'm interested in them. And every time that I do that, it gives them the incentive or the courage to come over and talk to me and have a weird or awkward conversation or interaction. It's like totally valid. That happens. Dudes, stop doing that. Do your best not to. If you can't help it, walk the other way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But at the same time, it shouldn't be a no-no. It shouldn't be a faux pas or like a public taboo to just go and talk to a woman. You talk to women all the time. They're everywhere. You kind of have to. And it should be okay to do that on both sides. So it would be okay. It would be nice if there wasn't that fear from women that if they just looked at a guy on a walk, that he might come over and try to be weird with them.
Yeah.
It would be nice if the guys didn't feel like they have to walk on pins and needles whenever a woman is even near them for fear of being judged or shunned because they don't want any attention from you. It's like, what? That was never my goal. To this guy's point, is like, I have no intention of letting you know or, signaling that I'm interested, that I want to talk to you. So I'm going to avert my eyes. It's a bummer, dude. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
We're liking people on dating apps. We're liking people on Instagram. We're sending each other DMs, but we can't even look at each other on the street because, well, he might try and be awkward with me and she might think I'm a rapist. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. I mean, people are terrified of it because it's free form. It's like, oh, I can't like use ChatGPT to figure out what I was going to say, or I can't like ask my buddy like, hey, what should I say to this? Or, whatever. And like, dude, it's because people are chronically on the internet. And these very small subsets of experiences that people have become blown way out of proportion to where now everybody is like concerned about it,
Yeah.
And it's all this stuff on the internet. It's even things like racism and sexism and all this stuff. Are they problems? Yes. Do they exist? Yes. But they're blown way out of proportion to where it's like, oh, this is this massive problem that we have to solve. And yes, there should be efforts to fix all problems in society, but most of them don't have a permanent conclusion. Most of them can't be solved overnight. And instead, society just ends up thinking that this is just part of how we live. And they do everything they can to avoid tackling the difficulties of life head on, whether it's asking a girl out or going on a walk and saying hi to a stranger or whatever. And the truth is, people should never forget what was done to them during COVID, because it's like, it is because of that. The fact that people are not social anymore, addicted to their phones, everything revolves around capitalism. The biggest transfer of wealth in human history happened during COVID. They took all of the money from the people and the small businesses and gave it to huge corporate interests and people who were already billionaires, right? Dr. Fauci is literally in the middle of being deposed for lying throughout all of COVID. And he was the expert that everybody was like, he's the expert, trust the experts. Wow, what a surprise. He was lying the whole time. And then everything that everyone was saying during COVID that everybody was shamed for, oh, surprise, it's true. And then the guy who said that it wasn't true is now being proven to have lied the whole time. And most people are like, duh, or I'm like, duh, and it's like, dude, it's just ridiculous. And people should never forget that that was done to them in the interests of pharmaceutical companies and the healthcare system and these huge global conglomerates that sell you consumer goods. Right? Who made all the money? Amazon, Target, Walmart, Pfizer. It's like, dude, it's garbage at the expense of our humanness.
Yeah.
And now we don't even know how to make friends or do anything anymore. And we've become idiots that are just plugged into the matrix, literally.
This is your PSA. Thank you for listening or thank you for watching. Please continue to do so. But when you're done, put your phone down, go on a walk, and say hi to a stranger. It will not kill you. It might even make your week.
100%. I always talk about like the elevator test. Like a lot of the times I think we get stuck in our houses and we feel super isolated and alone. And then that like perpetuates itself. It like compounds on itself. And the longer you like stay in that mode, the harder it is to break out of it. And sometimes it is as simple as just starting with a hello. And it's like, yeah, you might not feel like it. You may not be feeling social, But a lot of the times, like the way to kind of gain your confidence back is by just like saying hello to some old lady in an elevator. You know what I mean?
Might make your day.
Without worrying that she's going to think you're going to rob her. You know, it's like, just take a breath and like say hello to Gertrude and be like, hey, miss, how's your day going? You know, and just give it a shot.
Something crazy happens when you start talking to strangers.
Yeah.
You know, and I've had some experience with talking to strangers, and, you know, a lot more of it more recently. And like, I'm paying attention to it at the same time. You know, I'm out in the coffee shops more often, and I'm talking to folks kind of either because of work or through work. And, you know, because of the nature of my work, I'm talking to lots of different people on a fairly regular basis. So getting comfortable with talking to strangers is you kind of have to do. It's par for the course at this point. But when something happens when you do it for just longer than is comfortable, it doesn't become not uncomfortable. It doesn't just magically become something that you're amazing at. There's still going to be a level of, you know, maybe some discomfort or uncertainty, but you definitely get a little bit more confident. You're more confident in your ability to just navigate the world.
Yeah.
It's like, I used to be, you know, think about people that are, you know, chronically paralyzed by the thought of having to have a conversation with someone that they don't know. They have one conversation, they take a risk, they have a conversation with a stranger at the coffee shop, for instance, and the conversation goes well. Confidence point boost, 2 points. They go to the post office, they chop it up. They just, instead of handing the envelope to the clerk, they say, hey, how's your day going? Oh, that's a cool ring on your hand there. Where'd you get it? End of conversation. It wasn't awkward. She doesn't think you're a creep. You handed her your note. 2 more confidence points. And that cumulative effect can take hold in like your entire life. Like it can really do drastic positive change in that regard. You know, I go to Stella's Market all the time. And one of my favorite parts of going to Stella's Market now is the lady that works at the counter.
Mm-hmm.
She's an older lady. I think she's in her 70s. So she's around mom's age. And I think I was wearing a Vera House t-shirt, but I went in there, I was getting some dinner, and she made a comment about the dinner I got and the dessert that I got. And I wasn't going to like have a conversation. It's like 9:00 at night. I'm not really interested in talking to a stranger going home to have a late dinner. She's like, oh, some tiramisu, and you got the pasta. This is, you know, looks like a good dinner. I was like, yeah, it's delicious. I love tiramisu. I'm going to go home and have dinner. She's like, oh yeah, what do you do? And then we were off to the races. Like we just kind of had a genuine conversation.
Yep.
She's getting to know me. I'm getting to know her. And now every time I go there and I see her, it's like, hey, how you doing? Good to see you. How's your day going?
Yeah.
Right. And you'd be surprised the wonder that those simple things can do for you.
Yeah. I have a similar interaction at Chewy's Bagels.
Yeah.
Because I order there, not every week, but like pretty much every other week, pretty reliably. And a lot of times that's like my little treat that I go and get after I get my haircut or whatever. And I wish I knew the girl's name. I don't. And I don't think she knows my name either. And I don't think she'll ever hear this, but I see her all the time. And it's like the same thing. And I walk in and she like already knows because I order the same thing.
Yeah.
Because of course I have ADHD and I just like order the same thing every single time.
Yeah.
And yeah, I agree. It's like sometimes you're not in the mood to be social. But then when you see someone that you always see, immediately that part of your brain turns off and you're like, well, I have to be social. I in theory, I know this person. It's like, oh, hey, how's your day going? You know, this and that. And you could be having a terrible day, you know, and you never know what people are going through. You know, it's you be driving on the highway and somebody flicks you off and, you know, they don't know what you're going through or what could have happened to you that day or where you're going or where you're headed. And I don't think that people think about any of this. It doesn't cross their mind because we are very self-centered. And especially in Western culture, like our whole life revolves around the self, like my career, my first impression, my sense of style and my fashion. What am I wearing? It's like all about me, you know?
Yeah.
And I say me in regards to like everybody, like most people feel this way.
We know you're talking about yourself.
It's you know it, dude. You know, and talking about the internet, it's hard not to be addicted to the internet sometimes. It's so hard to put the memes down. You know, it's so
the internet's
hard.
pretty cool, man.
It is. I mean, it's great.
We love the internet on this show, but
yes,
there has to be a level of restraint to a degree. Maybe not even using that word because maybe that sounds like a little.
Yeah, there's got to be. Yeah, you got to have your own guidelines, your own boundaries.
Boundaries.
Yeah,
boundaries for sure. After you watch our show, of course.
Exactly. Or this crazy video that I saw. I don't know if you saw this, dude. It was pretty nuts. Let me show it to you. And we were talking about Rockets Landing and the park and everything. And one of the things I love about the park down there is the train track, how the trains go over top. And it's like, I just always love living in the city because of the trains.
Yeah.
But I saw this video, and I think this is in like Chesapeake. Yeah, so this is in Chesapeake. All right. Watch this.
Whoa.
Holy shit. Holy fuck. Holy fucking shit. Oh my god. What the fuck? Holy shit.
Bro,
Dude.
you nailed it. He nailed it. He said everything that I was thinking exactly when I was thinking it.
Dude,
That's crazy.
this is insane. So
Wait, go back to the beginning. Let me see
dude,
this
okay.
again.
So this is a sewage truck.
Oh,
Okay.
no.
Deciding to, and this is in Chesapeake in the middle of nowhere. So you don't have like
Yeah, but that's what I was going to say. That's why I wanted to see it.
yeah.
What do you mean they don't have the thing, the cross
I mean,
thing?
so when you go way out in the country, because this is true when I drive out to like my parents' place out in Crew, like on some of these side roads, there are no like railings, like there's a stop sign. You're expected to stop and look yourself to make sure that there's no trains coming.
That's
And so I suppose that this truck hit a little rolling stop and didn't realize that there was literally a train
Probably
here.
listening to our podcast too loud.
Probably,
Yeah.
dude. And just boom. And just sewage just explodes everywhere. And, the truth is, I have no context around this story. Like, I don't know what happened to the driver. I don't know anything, but I just thought this video was like insane.
That's incredible.
I just happened to be scrolling through this. So, yeah, this happened in Chesapeake, Virginia.
Dang.
And,
Yeah, we're going to put this up on the screen. So definitely take a look. If you're not watching, definitely take a look at this part. And this is your reminder to look both ways.
yeah, yeah.
Mind the gap, yield at the stop sign.
I mean, especially when you're driving a 30,000 pound truck,
What are you thinking? Probably not
Yeah.
much,
Yeah.
if we're being honest.
Yeah. His day did not go as planned.
There's so many puns.
Yeah. I mean, literally, he's yelling, holy shit, at
yeah,
a truck full of exploding from being hit by a train. Now, the train did hit the back of the truck, which was terrible for all the waste spewing everywhere.
yeah.
Luckily, it didn't hit like the front of the truck
Yeah,
where
it
the
looked
driver
like he was
is.
okay because like it hit the driver's side of the truck, but just the back half.
The back, yeah. So, I don't know, but I thought that was insane. And I saw it on Threads, which is like not really a platform where you would see that type of thing. So I'm just scrolling, like reading stuff. And then I was like, whoa, what is this?
Mhm.
And yeah, not good. Not good. Dude.
Yeah. Mind the gap.
Yes. Question for you. Have you ever been Lannoned?
I don't think I've personally been Lannon, but I remember a guy and I remember some stories about said guy named Lannon.
I mean, you got to be a particular type of guy to have a verb, to have your last name turned into a verb.
He's a legend and not in the good way.
Yeah. So, New York has subway rats. Florida has meth alligators.
Mhm.
Richmond has Eric Lannon.
Yeah. I haven't heard about this guy in a long time. But
Well, let me tell you about him, okay? Because
Sheesh.
basically it was this guy who ran like an endless cycle of grifting off of specifically like fraternities in the late 90s and early 2000s. So this is a guy who could walk into any situation with zero plan, zero money, zero shame, but maximum confidence.
yeah.
And he was a Richmonder, typical kind of flip-flop vest hat type of guy. He could he could easily be mistaken for a Brad or a Tad or a Chad. And somehow he would go into every day with no plan and no money and somehow leave with a couch to sleep on, a beer in his hand, a free ride across town, emotional support from whoever was helping him out, 3 new friends, maybe a girlfriend, maybe a hot girl saying, honestly, he seemed really nice at first,
Mhm.
you know? And this is Eric Lannon, dude. Like, people reported this guy basically just being like a grifting nuisance, you know, through the lens of like fake emergencies. You know, it's always like, and, you know, there's plenty of homeless people all over Richmond, but this guy's not homeless, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's one thing if you're like a homeless person on drugs, just making up stories to get your next dollar or whatever. It's like you could maybe be forgiven.
Mhm.
It's like, this is just a totally like normal dude, you know?
Yeah.
Hopping from bar to bar, getting free drinks, just like grifting off everybody, just being a lame.
Yeah.
Right. And this guy, like, he's like the type of guy who's like, oh, dude, my friend just got arrested, man. I need some help. I need a hand. Or like, you know, I'll pay you back later. I'll Venmo you, you know? So while surviving entirely off of social generosity of drunk Richmond college students, Richmond was so weird and socially trusting in the 2010s that this single guy allegedly lived off vibes alone, just living off vibes.
Yeah.
You know, it's like good for him, I guess. But, you know, it's like you start there and it just goes downhill and gets worse and worse and worse. Like, imagine becoming such a notorious local manipulator that your last name becomes a verb. It's
Yeah,
like, oh,
man.
yeah, I got Lannon.
I never got Lannon. I worked in the bars in the 2010s, and I would hear about this guy, but nothing specific. And I would see him, and he's, you know, kind of a taller guy. I think he's a little taller than me. Floppy hair.
Yep. Floppy hair.
Pink or blue pastel shirt. You know, long jeans draping on the floor and flip-flops.
Nailed it.
The uniform.
Yes, the uniform.
For someone who graduated University of Richmond.
Yes.
No shade. That's just what people wear.
Yeah, we don't make the rules. That's just how it goes.
It's just what you go to U of R, they ship it in the mail. That's what, you know, that's how it goes. And yeah, he would just be at all the bars all the time. And he always looked like he was having a great time.
Oh, I'm sure he was.
Smiling big and talking to people and having a beer or whatever.
Free bar tab.
Right. And I think I might have met him or talked to him once or twice. I have a vague memory of it. But I have a tendency to see straight through people like that.
Yeah.
Because I already don't trust the way that he moves or operates. And when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object, there's just no impasse.
Yeah.
And it's like I would talk to him or had talked to him or he'd say something to me or was talking to a friend of mine and I would look at him and talk to me and I'd be like, what's happening here?
Yeah.
And he's just like, oh shit, it's not working.
Right.
And then that's it. We part ways, never spoke. That was it. But after some time, the stories started to emerge. And then I would hear about him like having like gotten over on somebody for a lot of money and then like skipped town and was never seen again. And then he would be seen years later. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like the same set of stories every time too. Like, people report that it was always the same thing. His friend was arrested. His wallet got stolen. He would tell people, oh, my dad has a ton of money. I'll get it back to you. I'll pay you back. He'd always say he'd pay everybody back. Or he'd just be like, oh, I just need a ride. I just need a quick ride. He just needed somewhere to stay. Oh, I just need to borrow your phone real quick. I just need help. It's just for tonight. Like, I'll have all my stuff back tomorrow. All my stuff's in my car. I'll be back at my car tomorrow. I'll get you back. Like, every story sounds like a guy entirely improvising his own life in real time after having like 3 vodka Red Bulls.
Yeah, man, this is Richmond in the 2010s. This is like, his was like an extreme case because he did it to lots of people.
Yeah.
But that kind of happened all the time.
Yeah.
Like, it's just kind of what you did.
Yeah.
If you're like out in the bar scene and you either worked in a restaurant or you were just a frequenter of the restaurants, it was commonplace to do that with or for people.
I like how they aren't even like sophisticated stories. It's basically just like frat boy improv theater.
Yeah, I'm just trying to imagine like, who are these people he's getting over on? Like these, I mean, I'm sure there was bartenders that were giving him free drinks and people at the bar that he would meet there, like Charm.
Totally.
You know, tall, brown hair
Yep.
dude, pastel pink shirt, you know, big goofy smile. And he's like, oh yeah, this is my boy Tony. Tony's a bartender here. I've known him for years. Let me get you guys a round of drinks. Oh wait, I don't have any money. Do you mind getting this round? Let's go to this other spot. I know some people over there too. We'll have a blast. Your round's on me. We go there. Oh shit, I forgot my wallet. Do you mind if you just like pick up this round? And then, you know, it's like almost last call. Shit, my car's at the other side of town. You know, I don't want to take a cab because they're sketchy. Do you mind if you drop me off at the, you know, it'd be really easy if you just let me stay here because, I could just walk from my place. I'll grab, breakfast in the morning and blah, blah, blah. Then he's gone in the morning.
Dude, nailed it. Yeah. It's like a Nepo baby without the money, without the credit card.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Which just kind of blows my mind.
Yeah, dude, the quotes from people that like remembered stories about him on Reddit were crazy. I'm going to read some of them. Lannon is the legendary RVA pink unicorn of douchebaggery. Another person said, I heard there were at one point Eric Lannon themed scavenger hunts and safaris. Is this true?
Yes, that tracks.
Somebody said, I feel like I'm reading World War Z when researching this guy, but instead of a zombie plague, it's just one sociopathic prep douche. Also, Lannon is probably the funniest term I've heard all week. What a goldmine.
Oh, God.
Somebody said, what a douche. Sleeps with your girl, eats your food, and overstays his welcome.
Yeah, that's it. That's the guy.
Dude, probably my favorite was, he'll puke on you, he'll F your mom, and he'll smoke while huffing gas.
Jesus. I don't even know if that's true or not, but like,
I don't know
maybe.
either.
I mean, it's a legend at this point.
Yep. I find everything about him to be magical. If people are dumb enough to fall for his scams, then maybe they needed a good old-fashioned lesson in street smarts.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last person said, that's Eric. Go on vacation, leave on probation, come back on violation.
That's good.
Yeah, well, apparently Richmond wasn't the end of it because now he doesn't even live here. According to public records and countless online stories, he never disappeared. He just kept moving to different cities, different states, different groups of people, new stories, and continued getting arrested. So just this year so far, I think he's in jail literally right now. He's been arrested 3 times in Florida, in Jacksonville Beach, Tampa, and Destin, where he passed out on top of a counter at a gas station. Even the police couldn't wake him up. They arrested him and then took his dog to animal control. And I think that's the last reported sighting of him.
How the hell do you pass out on the counter at the gas station?
Bro, I don't know.
Now that's Florida, so not super far-fetched, but also how?
Yeah.
I have so many questions.
Maybe he realized that he is Florida man and he was just in the wrong place.
That's it. That's it. That's it. That is the mystery solved.
Right? It's got to be, dude. He's Florida man.
Yeah.
So crazy, dude. But I thought that was just a ridiculous story.
Yeah.
And there's a handful of these like sketchy Richmond characters that we'll have to continue covering. Like, I think at one point we talked about that guy Kickout. You remember that?
Oh, man.
We'll have to save that for another episode.
That for another episode. Yeah. Oh, man, there was something magical looking back, but there was something magical about, and you can relate to this, I know, because we both lived in the restaurant bar scene, kind of in limbo. Like I had an apartment, but like kind of, and we were just out in the streets. Like you were in the streets all the time.
Yep.
And there's this layer of the streets that's just kind of mysterious, but like supports itself. It's just below anyone who pays their rent on time.
Yeah. Dude, that's so accurate. That's a great way to describe it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was. It's like this weird underground ether vibe going on, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like the places that happened in they're just gone. You know, it makes me think of Europa and Starlight and like just some of these vibes, dude. And it's like you just have these characters that kind of just flow into these places and flow out. And it's like, who are they? What do they do? It's like nobody knows.
Nobody knows, but they're there every Thursday for, emo night or whatever.
Yep.
And they always say, what's up to you? Because you're there every Thursday for emo night. And they always buy you a PBR because that's the cheapest beer on the menu and that's what they can afford.
Yeah.
And maybe they get a hookup from the bartender because they've been there, been coming there for a couple of years. And then you guys meander down the block to Bamboo and you sit at Bamboo for a while. And then like 9 of your friends, I'm using air quotes because they're like people and you're familiar with because you see them all the time, but they're not really friends of yours.
Yeah.
You meet up with those people, you hang out for a few hours, and then you meander down the block again. You go to Helen's, call it last call. And then you're like, there's a house party. Somebody's playing a show in Jackson Ward. Look, let's hop in it. This is back before Uber. So let's hop in a cab, go over to Jackson Ward. You're at a house party until 3 a.m., hanging out with your quote unquote friends. And then you have to figure out how to get home after that because no one actually cares about you. wait, by the way, it's also Sunday night. You have work in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is this a reference to a real life story where you were hitting up emo night every Thursday?
No, I was not hitting up emo night every Thursday, but I was at Sticky Rice for karaoke every Wednesday.
That's a great example of like one of these underground, like legendary moments in time that has disappeared.
Yeah.
You know,
It still happens, but obviously I don't go there. But like if you didn't go, was it Wednesday or Tuesday?
I don't know. I should know because I have a Sticky Rice tattoo on my
You
finger.
should know.
And I used to live upstairs.
Yeah. I think it's Tuesday. Maybe, yeah, whatever. But that's one of those things where, no, it was Wednesday night because Starlight was Tuesday.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I remember Starlight Tuesdays. Yeah.
$2 Tuesdays at Starlight and then karaoke at Sticky Rice on Wednesday.
Yeah.
It's legendary.
Yeah.
There's always a line. If you got in, there's wall to wall people standing on the tables and booths. And then you're singing your heart out to a Cher song or a Creed song or, you know, an old 50 Cent song. Songs that you don't even like.
Yeah.
But like the energy is just so palpable and like all your friends are jazzed on it. Your buddy that can't really sing gets up and sings 4 songs because he just loves karaoke. And then you've got a Sticky Rice tattoo. So you're getting PBRs for everybody. You're getting a giant bucket of fried tater tots. And then you're waking up the next morning feeling pretty shitty, but like you had a great time.
Yeah. And that right there is what the pandemic stole from the people, dude.
Yes, it is.
Never forget.
Yes,
Never
it is.
forget. Because it's like, dude, it'll be a long time before we get that back. If we ever get that back, you know?
If we ever get it back. Yeah.
And I think we mentioned it in a totally different episode where maybe that's not like a period in time necessarily. It's just like a feeling. And it's like that feeling has escaped, you know?
Yeah.
And like, sure, maybe there's some young kids at VCU who are also having their own version of that feeling, you know? And it's like, dude, we're the old men yelling at the clouds now.
Seriously.
And we might just have to accept that.
They should never have given us microphones.
I know, right?
It's too late. This podcast was recorded at Vera House Studios in Richmond, Virginia, and produced by Perri Young and Myke Metzger.